Hi everyone, Vickieverlie here, Rock and Roll Prophetess, and today we're going to take a look at the full moon in Libra, which is happening on April 12th, 2025. It's going to be at 8:22 p.m. Eastern Time, but times will vary. It's a full moon in Libra, 23 degrees of Libra, and it's opposing the Chiron Sun conjunction, which is intense. We're going to dive into that. It also harkens back to the eclipses of... there was an eclipse very close to this degree. I can't find it right now, but it was in 2013, October 12th or 13th in 2023. So there could be a callback to that. Before we get started, my name is Vickieverlie, and you're watching the Rock and Roll Prophetess on YouTube. Do not be fooled by imposters. The only way to contact me is through my website, vickieverlie.com. I'm available for readings, and you can find the information on my website. I will not be contacting you through social media offering readings. Those are imposters. This is a psychic or intuitive reading, so therefore I do color outside the traditional astrology lines quite a bit. If you don't know anything about astrology, and this looks like mumbo jumbo, just hang on because I get messages and downloads as we progress through the reading. Okay, so like I said, it's at 23 degrees of Libra. We got a weird colored pen here. Let's get a different color that matches. I actually have an actual, there we go. This is the color chart pencil. That's right, chart pencil. 23 degrees of Libra. The other reason that first put me on this trail of going down and hunting down those eclipses is because Venus rules over the sign of Libra, okay? Venus, Libra. So therefore, this is a Venusian or Venus-ruled eclipse. And we got to look to where it's going on with Venus. And Venus is retrograding. So retrogrades often will take you back to the past too. That's how I kind of got on this trail right away when I saw this. And I did go ahead. I rarely look anything up, but I want to talk. We're going to talk a lot more about Venus because it's doing some stuff over here. But I rarely look anything up ahead of time. But that caught my eye right away, and I'm going, retrograde, the past. And we've just come out of this Aries Libra cycle of eclipses. The eclipses always go in opposite signs. So we're having them in Aries and Libra, and actually now we're going to start having them in Pisces and Virgo, okay? But while we were having them in Aries and Libra, during that time there was one that was particularly close to this. I think it was maybe around 21 degrees, and it was around, I want to say October 12th or 13th of 2023. So that could be a key date or a key time frame to look back on, because after all, everything is cyclical, especially in astrology. That's how we can figure out what might be happening next, because we look at these cycles, and there's one of the astrology podcasts where they go into, this guy does some deep research, and I do a little bit of research here and there, but these guys are like, they're maniacs about it. I'm sure if you're watching my video, you've probably seen them because they have a lot of followers, but I rarely do that, but in this case I was drawn to do it. So think back to that time frame of October of 2023, because there's something about this that is bringing it to conclusion. It's bringing it back from the past, yes, but it's also going to bring it to conclusion, or there's going to be some kind of a major awareness surrounding that whole era. I mean, it was only a couple years ago, but you know what I'm saying? That whole time frame, that whole Libra Aries eclipse time frame, which was 2023 through 2025, the last 2 years. And it's going to be different in everybody's chart. If you could always order a reading from me if you want to look closer. Now let's dive into this Venus a little more. So because Venus again is important, because Venus is the ruler of Libra, and therefore Venus is the ruler of this eclipse. Okay, so not eclipse, this full moon, excuse me. But Venus is doing some interesting stuff here. It's almost still exactly conjunct with Saturn. It went through and made an exact conjunction, and it's still in a very tight orb with Saturn. So a lot of people will, poo-poo this kind of a situation. Oh, well, Venus is all love, wonderful, great things, and Saturn's going to ruin everything. Saturn's going to make it, Saturn lets the air out of the balloon. Saturn pisses all over the party, or whatever. Debbie Downer or Donald Downer. Saturn brings everybody down and everything. Don't let it bring you down. It's only castles turning, or something. Yeah, so don't let it bring you down. And that's not the only way Saturn rolls. Saturn gets a bad rap at times. What the good things that Saturn can do. Let's look at that. Because the good things that Saturn can do. Saturn really has no tolerance for frivolity. And Venus can definitely be frivolous. That's one of the ways we could look at Venus. But what Saturn will do is bring in long-term things that are going to be substantial, that are going to be long-lasting, that are going to be foundational. I always say, Saturn rules the bones in your body. And without our bones in our body, we need that structure, or we'd just be a lump of flesh and organs on the ground, right? So Saturn is very useful, and Saturn wants to guide you towards, Saturn is also the lord of the karma. So Saturn wants to guide you toward these things that are going to be very long-lasting, very enduring, serious, yes, but serious in a good way. And it's funny, as I'm saying serious, the planet Ceres is coming in. Well, the node's involved too, and Mercury too. I mean, they're all in there. So there's still this big concentration of in Pisces energy. As far as relationship stuff, particularly if you have a planet that's aspected, so something around this degree or this degree of water, Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, in the 20s of Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, and it's trining Mars. Venus is trining Mars in this reading too. So there is definitely, a love vibe going on. But I was going to say, if it's in your personal chart that way, there could absolutely be some, you can meet somebody who perhaps you have a karmic relationship with, but anybody you're in a long-term relationship with, usually it is some sort of a karmic relationship. There's always lessons to be learned in these various relationships. So that's not surprising or shocking in any way. But like a fated, a date with destiny, or a fated encounter, or maybe even some of you maybe taking that big first step or that big next step. Maybe you're going to, get engaged or move in together or make that big commitment. That could absolutely, or you could just meet a soulmate. And so again, soulmates are a lot of things. They're not always your lover. And even if they are your lover, it doesn't mean always a happily ever after. There could be, again, karmic, there's always lessons to be learned. But it's interesting too that the next thing, if we go up, up, these two are in a tight orb, 24, 25, and then 27, 28, I mean, that's all together, is this North Node. North Node and Saturn together is a major point of fate here. This is a major point of fate. It's trying to direct us all in this direction of aligning with our highest goals, our highest point of fate, our highest, and it's highest for another reason, being that Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. Here's where it begins at 0 Aries, and it goes all the way around, and then it ends up at 29 of Pisces. And then it starts again at 0 Aries, and it goes all the way around, and it ends up at 29 of Pisces. So, some cycles are longer than others. This is a 19-year cycle. Saturn is a 27, 28, 29-year cycle. Venus, Venus, Mercury, these are the inner planets. They go around pretty quick, give or take a year or a little more than a year. But they're all joining together here. They're all joining together in this last decade, or this last few degrees here of Pisces, to wish, as we move, there's going to be this big shift into Aries. And Neptune is leading the way, and Neptune is already in there. I got a big download about Neptune and Aries. I was not thrilled about that. I was just like, ooh. To me, it was almost like Aries doesn't know what to do with Neptune, Like Aries is going to trivialize Neptune because it's so deep and so spiritual or whatever. I don't know what I was just like not really looking forward to it. I felt like it might be kind of a funky energy, but I got this big download about it. What it's doing is Neptune is going to ascend Aries, help with Aries ascension, help with all our ascension, because it's going to it's not going to be just around the same old circle, the same old circle. We're entering into this next step, this new paradigm. And the Neptune is going to show Aries, because Aries is dying to do the next new thing. That's all Aries wants to do. They're chomping at the bit. They want us to do the next thing. And Neptune is going to break us out of this old cycle. Round we go, round and round we go, back and forth, back and forth. Excuse me one second. And so this way, we could make these big, my guide just said quantum leap, but we could definitely be making these big leaps forward, so that the next, this is like 100 years, 150 years or something, the next 150 years isn't going to be like the last 150 years. I was doing it too. Like, I'm back, oh, it's the Civil War, blah, 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 this and that. But then I'm like, no, it's not, it doesn't have to be that way. It's not going to be, well, it's not going to be the same anyway. Even though the civil war that's going on now mostly is on social media, it's not, we're not out in the battlefields lined up with rifles, bayonets, it's changed in that, but you could just, on a real, meat and potatoes kind of a way, sure. But it's deeper than that, a lot deeper than that. There is these paradigm shifts that are happening, and there is this next level jump that is wanting to occur, that is occurring. And Neptune is ushering in Aries into a new way. And this was pointed out actually by somebody else in the comments, because I was getting down on it. I was like, ooh, Neptune and Aries. I really kind of had a little bit of an attitude about it. I wasn't that happy about it. I couldn't see the positive in it, I guess. I was kind of looking at the glass half empty. And somebody pointed out that's when photography was invented. And it reminded me that there was another thing I was going to, because I was maybe going to do a whole nother really big time Neptune video, but I'm not going to get to it, I bet. So let's just talk about it here. Well, what happened at that time too, of course, in the late 1800s was the Impressionists. Of course, mine and many people's favorite period of art. And how that all came about was that because of photography, because up to that point, artists were expected to look exactly like the picture, and that was the best artist, was capture that likeness, and blah, 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 and this and that. And that was their function in society, right, was to capture likeness. Well, here comes photography. So they're like, well, we're not needed anymore. So they branched out and did this whole new, great, beautiful, Neptunian, creative thing with art. Took art in this great, phenomenal new and almost interdimensional, really, if you think about it. They were all doing absinthe, and they were doing like hallucinogens and stuff. So they were tapping into some higher, higher consciousness, I would say. And I feel definitely like the impressionistic stuff really reminds me of the fairy realm, very much so, right? So, and then it got me on this trail of, well, AI, then there's AI. Because here we all are, and people in the arts, and I've been in the arts, and many people I know that watch these videos have been. It is. It's people in music are like, well, AI, we don't even have, And Rick Beato, who is one of my favorite music YouTubers, he did a thing. He does a lot about AI, but he did one recently where he actually went into the apps and stuff it's a lot of it's crap, but some of it's not half bad, actually. But whose voice is singing? That was when I first saw that. I went to the rage. That's the Mars energy, the Aries energy. Like, whose voice is that? Actually, it's not a computer generated voice necessarily. They copied that from somewhere. They sampled that from somewhere, I want to say. So I got a pretty defensive about it and everything. And in art, it's crazy. I'm visual artist, like drawing. Like I was talking about my deck, and I drew everything, and it's just like, well. Am I the old fuddy-duddy who can't let go? And is AI the photography of the 21st century? And where will art go from here as a bounce back from that? From in the last cycle around, it was the Impressionists. I looked it up too. The first big show of the Impressionists actually took place when Neptune was just about to leave Aries. Okay. And this all ties into this full moon too, because that's the Venus again. That's the arts, Libra, that's the arts. But I looked at it, and they had just had the very first show. But the movement started when Neptune went into Aries. They were struggling to be acknowledged. Everybody thought they were crap. What's that? That's not art. They got, as like anything new and innovative. So I'm, now I have kind of a new attitude, I guess. And what I was going to say, am I the old fuddy-duddy? Like years ago in the late 80s, I went back to school again to get, that's when computer they called it desktop publishing really back then. But computer graphics, was coming into play. So, I took in commercial art and everything, and I wanted, me, like everybody else who went back to school at that time, that was in my adult learning classes or whatever it was, community college actually. we were all there to learn computer graphics or desktop publishing. And there was the main guy who was the head of the whole thing, and he was just not, he was a dog with a bone. He wouldn't let it go. It's like, oh, well, people are still going to want the other, and computers aren't going to take over. And it wasn't even part of the curriculum. We had to take, there was a couple little classes, and we had to take extra classes to take it, whatever. But he kept arguing, oh, no, it's people still, and I guess that's true even to this day, or it's making a comeback. You'll see people on Etsy who do hand printing and, all that stuff. But at that time, I didn't need to, I never had to use cutting frisket paper, okay? We were cutting out frisket paper, which is how you do color overlays manually and stuff. And when the computer came along, it's like, why do that? So am I the old fuddy-duddy who is not wanting to, am I like him? Am I the one who doesn't want to let go of that old paradigm? Oh, AI, they didn't draw it. Well, hell, drawing that deck of mine, that took me 9 months. Maybe if I did use AI or whatever, blah, 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 bing, bang, boom, I could have got it done in a week, Why hanging on to the old style of tedium and this long, drawn-out thing? Why is that better? Or why is that, well, it's two sides of a coin. Then the other one that was a great meme that I saw, too, there was somebody who said, I want AI to do my laundry and housework and go out and earn my money, and so I have more time to do my drawing and painting and stuff. I don't want AI to do my drawing and painting for me. So there's that side of it. But I've been having some big downloads on this. Instead of being like, oh, it's ruining everything, and like that's how they viewed photography back then. So. Well, there's a lot more is going to unfold of this. I mean, it's just newly in there, so there's going to be a lot more unfolding. But that was a big breakthrough for me, and I was definitely in the hard camp of AI sucks. That's crap. To the music, I think I still am. I think I have a lot more way to go with the music, but I'm kind of coming around a little bit in the art. I mean, I'll still do regular. But, am I still cutting frisket paper to do color prints and color separation? F no. And why would you? Or even text. You had to rough in text, so I could just show you guys real quick if anybody cares. Probably you don't, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'll just go over my name. So to rough in text, you would do like hashing. You would do it on tracing paper, right? And you would do like this to rough out to show a client or or somebody what their ad might look. There was this big huge book of text, and this is how you would do it. And then you would even like trace over clip art. They had these big heavy books of not clip art, what do they call it now, like stock art, And that's absurd. Nobody's going to do that now. Why in God's name would you? You just type it in and you have thousands of fonts at your disposal and it's clean and it's perfect, So, am I the old fuddy-duddy? What's next? I'm kind of, I don't know what's next, or I don't see how it's, I guess I don't see the silver lining of it yet. But looking back at that time frame of the late 1800s, and how photography forced gave birth to the Impressionists pretty much, I'm kind of getting a little more excited about it, okay? The other big thing that we've got to look at here is this is the sun. Oh, I got the pink out still. I got the hot pink. Let's get back to my chart pencil color. There we go. There it is. We've got this whole Chiron sun conjunction here. So this is intense too. Well, the other thing before we move on to this will be the last thing we talk about, I think. Also, we've got this Mars, it's trining the Mars, it's sextiling the Uranus. It's not just one little thing. This is at 23 degrees, so there's so many. So if you have anything in the 20s in your chart, you are being affected by this, But again, too, low degrees, too, because not only is Neptune is working with Pluto, that was the other thing I want to talk about, to bring about this major transformation. Pluto brings about a major transformation. Pluto in Aquarius is going to help us see the higher thing of it all. We all know the story, like back to the art thing again, of Vincent van Gogh, that he died a pauper and his brother pretty much, supported him his whole life, and he died thinking he was a failure, But, and to this day, he's like the most celebrated, one of the most celebrated artists of all time. So change isn't bad. Change can be difficult, and Aquarius also rules over the masses, so Aquarius can also, energy can be, and Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. It could also be, the masses are going to start to, loosen their grip on wanting to be so stuck and, and this is how it's always been. And those were the good old days or whatever, I'm not going to say the slogan, you know what it is. But anyway, we're finishing up this cycle and we're getting these downloads and insights. And this isn't what so far anything I thought it is. I'm finally coming on board. What choice do we have? It's going to happen. That's what I'm talking about, the masses. So I don't want Neptune to go into Aries. Well, it's going to. So just get over it, Get over it and try to embrace it and try to find that the fun part of it, or get excited about it, because Aries can bring an energy of excitement, where Pisces is so kind of almost lethargic at times. It's so deep in the whole, deep in it. So get that spark, get that excitement about what dreams may come, what dreams are going to unfold, what kind of Neptune. Look what happened last time. We went from, these stoic paintings to the Impressionists. Hello, So that was, but it was in a response. It was being pushed. Mars, there was like, hey, we don't need you anymore. Well, again, too, illustrators. So many illustrators when clip art came around and everything, or photography for that matter, when color photography came into print. You didn't need color illustrations anymore. So, and people did fall by the wayside, and some people, it does happen. There's always going to be, my guides are saying, that's casualties of change. There'll always be casualties of change. But if you can embrace that Aries energy, and you can go with the flow and be excited about what's coming next, good things can happen, right? All right, let's dive into this. So this Chiron in Aries has been intense. This has been kind of this going within, doing our self-healing, the sun conjuncting it, and it's part of this full moon, the moon opposing it. It's calling us to do this healing. It's calling us to have this big self-awareness. The Chiron energy is where we wound ourselves over and over again. It's where we self-sabotage. It's where we negative talk to ourselves. And I just get this feeling on this, again, looking on the bright side here, that this could be something just really beautiful. The Libra energy, because the Libra is all about partnerships. It's like everybody falls down. Everybody gets embarrassed. Everybody screws up. It's not just you, Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody, faux pas. Everybody messes up. Everybody says stupid stuff and regrets what they've said or makes mistakes. So keep that in mind. Be kind. One thing that you could say about Libra energy, it is very kind. Okay? Usually the Libras are kind to a fault. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. They try to see both sides of a situation or issue, both sides of the fence. And, they try to have compassion and be kind. Okay, there's a softness to the Libra energies. I mean, nobody's 100% anything. You might be saying, oh, not my sister. She's a Libra and blah, blah, blah. I hear you out there. I hear you. I hear you knocking. But you can't come in. Anyways. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, Lilith's in the mix here too, isn't she? 1 degree. She's also moved into that 1 degree, and she's at 1 degree of Scorpio, and she's ready to... Don't mess with Lilith, okay? Lilith is in there, and it's a wide orb conjunction. I mean, it's pretty wide orb, but, Lilith is making aspects to a lot of these, the zero, it's not, it's in conjunct or whatever, but it's making aspects, squaring the Pluto. So Lilith brings that powerful feminine spirit, that pioneering spirit, but she can also rage. She can also be pretty harsh. Lilith can be harsh. She doesn't pull any punches, okay? She tells it like it is. Tell it like it is. All right, here comes the music's going to start coming. They're amping it up, baby. They're giving me song after song. Well, I'm not going to sit here and serenade you guys because I know I get complaints about that. But I did want to share, I'm even going to put it in the title, that more on the Neptune and thing, because I've been getting these downloads about it. And thanks to whoever put that in the comments, by the way, about the photography. That kind of tricked me off on this path and made me start thinking. And then this one, call to the past here too. So there's a call to the past, but it'll never be the same. Nothing will ever be the same. We can always try to recapture the past, but it just will never quite be the same. But we don't have to be mournful about it. That could be the downside of that Pisces energy. We don't have to be mournful about it. Oh, it's gone for the good old days and everything's behind me. No. Yeah, that might be behind us, but what exciting, wonderful things is going to be unleashed during this time frame. And I think we're going to get a big glimpse into that. Also, again, don't forget about going back to October of 23. If you have a journal or something, go back and read what you were thinking, speaking, what was going on in your head now, because that could this could pull it all together, I almost want to say. Pull it all together. It's the whole eclipse cycle that we've just been in. But also, by thinking back to that particular time frame, that could really get some deep insights to your own personal journey. And I'm going to pull out my journal for sure and take a look at that. Or again, I could be here forever. We could be yammering on forever and ever, but we got to call it a day at some point. Hey, don't forget, my website is vickieverlie.com. If you want to get a reading of any sort, I have some astrology, the soul reading, which is a big past life reading. Looking at your past life, I can do it for you or for a couple and look at your past lives together. I use the chart as a jumping off point, and then it's really a psychic reading more than anything. And other than that, astrology, I don't have anything else, but I do have these psychic tarot readings. The turnaround time is usually 1 week. I want to show off my new deck because I'm working with my new deck and I'm loving it so much. So I usually don't pull a card for this reading, but I'm going to. I'm going to pull one card, Spirit, for our Libra full moon on April 12th. What is one card? I almost said from the Rock and Roll Tarot. But of course it's not the Rock and Roll Tarot. This is going to be from my new Happy Hamza, Holy Hamza deck. What am I hearing? Holy Moses. Holy Moses, I have been revealed. Yeah. What do we got for this time frame? We've got the wish card. Oh, sweet. Make a wish. What I do with these cards, too, if you see any, it's hard to pick up on camera, but I wanted it subtle. I didn't want it right in your face. But there are definitely, if I block out the background, it comes up better. If any of those background words there, the cursive, in the background, if anything like that catches your eye, definitely pay attention to it. But also, of course, the whole wish thing. Your wish is coming true, a time of great abundance. Well, yeah, the glass is half full, right? Wonderful things are happening. I'm very optimistic. I feel like we're on the other side. Trying to get this to lay all together. There we go. I think we're really on the other side of this whole transitionary period. I mean, not the whole thing, but it feels like, with all the retrogrades and those eclipses, and it just feels like we were kind of sailing through some rough waters there for a while, right? And I feel like now the tides have kind of turned. It feels a little bit brighter. It feels a little bit better. I kind of have a better grip on the whole Neptune and Aries thing. But when I thought of the Impressionists, that's really was just like, wow. What if it's something as cool as the Impressionists that comes out of this, or even cooler? And I can't really wait to see what new things come out on the creative front. I don't see it right now. I don't see what it is. But I am not going to be so hanging on to the past so tightly and bitching about AI so much and being on the, with the pitchfork about AI. Because I think I definitely was. And I still am to some extent with music. But hey, that ship has sailed. I mean, auto-tune, backing those beat those snazzy symbol things. Ugh. It drives me up the freaking wall. But I mean, it's here to stay, or at least for the time being. So bitching about it isn't going to do any. It isn't going to change it, and nobody gives a shit anyway, right? For what I'm bitching about. So no bitching. Happy thoughts. Libra full moon. Think happy thoughts. Wishes are coming true. Make a wish. If you want to get a hold of me, head over to my website. We can hook you up with a reading. Remember, you are love and beauty incarnate, and we'll be back again soon with another reading. Okay, till then, bye.